Well, these kids sure are braver than I was at their age. Or at my current age. Hey movie fans, so I just saw it, and by just saw I mean the day it came out, but we've got this little thing called Irma in our way, so here's my review of it now. Sorry about the delay, but I saw Stephen King's It. I had seen the original maybe once or twice before the 1990s miniseries version, and I think maybe I just saw it too late in life, and I just didn't really get the hype. I thought it was really cheesy and outdated, which it kind of is, but I can kind of see where people thought it was charming and interesting. Tim Curry, of course, was the best thing about that, but this is a reimagining 27 years later, just like in the book, like everyone's making this big deal about. Personally, I really liked this movie. I thought it was really, really enjoyable. I didn't think it was nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be, but it was still very creepy. There's some good things, some negatives, but by and large I had a lot of fun. What are some positives with this? There are some great performances all around by the kids. You got Finn Wolfhard? Something that doesn't sound like an actual name, the kid from Stranger Things. He's fun in this. He swears like a sailor in this. Holy cow. But he's so funny and entertaining. There's a lot of humor in this. I was not expecting to laugh as much as I did, because these kids actually act like kids. When they're scared, they use humor, like a lot of people do as a defense mechanism. It made it a lot funnier because you could kind of relate to them and see, oh yeah, in this situation I'd probably react the same way of scared, but yeah, kind of pretending this isn't actually happening. But he wasn't the only good character. The whole cast was really, really well done. Now that is kind of a negative of this has a really big cast, and so there are certain characters that get focused on more than others. Certain characters kind of get underdeveloped, but in this case it's not all bad. When the cast is like 7 people and there's no prior build-up, for what they had, you get behind the characters, but there's like maybe 4 that you really care about more than others. The cast really feels like every other Stephen King story, like a Stand By Me, or even the original It, or any other Stephen King story with a bunch of kids. They feel like those generic kids, but at some point you feel like you could identify with those kids. You're like, yep, I know at least somebody that was like one of these kid stereotypes, or I was one of those kid stereotypes of, you got the stuttering awkward kid, you got the kid that always says the inappropriate jokes that like nothing else comes out of his mind or mouth, and it's just like at the worst possible time. You're like, really dude, you can't be serious for 1 minute. We all know at least somebody like that. But the performances from all the kids was great, as well as Bill Skarsgård as It. Like Tim Curry I thought was the standard bearer for clowns, but as a whole he really wasn't scary. He was more comical and funny. Bill Skarsgård's It is straight up terrifying, and they set that precedent in early. That whole scene that you've seen in the trailers or in the original of little boy Georgie with his little boat and talking to the clown in the sewer, you think you know where it's going if you've seen the original. This one ramps it up and really sets the table of what kind of It we're going to be expecting, and this one's terrifying. Like, I grew up not liking clowns. Yeah, this is not going to help my case now. This clown is creepy, but I think that was a good thing. It makes you more afraid. Like the original It, I don't know if I was really afraid of it. Now, I'm afraid of it, and I want to see more of it. Yes, we're totally getting another one, as it should, because it's technically 2 different stories. Lastly, for my positives, there was really creepy atmosphere just in the air. You couldn't really put your finger on what it was, but you could always tell that something was off, and I really, really liked that. Like I said, it wasn't super scary, I would say, more just creepy. There was a lot of good creepy imagery, or just overall tones of just sending shivers down your spine if something's not quite right. And that's not necessarily always with It. The townspeople themselves are kind of suspect and creepy. Like, the only good people apparently in this entire town are the kids, because the adults are creepy, It's creepy, Maine's creepy, because Stephen King lives there. Like, I guess Stephen King thinks everything's scary. Get out more, Stephen. But this movie's not perfect. There's a couple flaws. Now, I don't know whether to point the finger at the movie or at my theater for this issue, but this movie was way too loud. Like, there's a lot of jump scares, probably a bit too many jump scares, and some that you could see coming a mile away. I dreaded the jump scares, not because I didn't want to be scared. I like jump scares when they're done correctly. It was that whenever there was a jump scare, I went deaf. And it was like the music build up to it. I was like, okay, somebody turned it down, and then when the actual jump scare happens, I was like, I can't be scared because I can't hear for the next 5 minutes. So I don't know if that was a movie problem or a theater problem. Either way, that took away from my enjoyment just a little bit. And the other major complaint that I had, not really major, but there were times that there was kind of a tonal shift of you'd be scared 1 minute, and then you'd have some really quirky and weird, goofy scene the next, which I'd say that the original kind of had that, and maybe that's Stephen King's writing, but there's just certain parts that, like, these don't feel like they mesh together well, but maybe that was just me. As a whole, I'd probably give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10. It was creative, it was creepy, it was fresh. It's what the box office so desperately needed right now, as we were in a complete dead season, and I fully expect it to keep dominating the box office for the next couple weeks, as it has literally no competition until maybe Kingsman. But other than that, this box office season has been dead, but it gave it the jolt that it so desperately needed, startling people to go see the movie in theaters. Well, what'd you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!